Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're doing something a little bit different. Usually we look at the world around us, tech trends, history, messy sociological stuff.
Right.
But today we are turning the lens completely inward. We are popping the hood on the most complex, the most frustrating, and honestly the most powerful machine you will ever own, which is your own mind.
And it's about time. Because if you don't understand how the machine works, you are just a passenger. You're in a vehicle that is just speeding down the highway, and you have no idea who is driving.
Yeah, and I think that is exactly the feeling I want to start with today, because I think everyone listening, and I mean everyone, from a top CEO to a college student, has wrestled with this very specific struggle.
Mm-hmm.
You know that feeling when you are trying so hard to change something in your life? Maybe it's saving money or finally getting in shape, or maybe it's finding a partner who isn't, a total walking disaster.
The classic New Year's resolution energy.
Exactly. You have the goal, you have the conscious desire, you go out, you buy the expensive planner, you download the budgeting app, you sign up for the gym membership.
You are putting in the effort.
You really are. But it feels like you are swimming upstream. It feels like there is this invisible, heavy current that is just dragging you backward no matter how hard you paddle.
It's a brutal feeling.
Yeah.
You are paddling right, but the river is moving left.
Yeah.
And eventually, your arms just get tired.
And you drift back, and then the self-doubt kicks in. Right. You start thinking, is the universe against me? Am I just unlucky? Do I just, lack discipline?
Right.
Well, the source material we are covering today says no. It is not bad luck. It is not even really a lack of discipline. It is your operating system.
That is the perfect way to frame it. We are diving into a source today that is essentially a masterclass on the subconscious mind. And I really want to emphasize that word, masterclass.
Yeah, this isn't light reading.
No, this isn't a listicle from some random blog. The material we are analyzing today is drawn from high-level, comprehensive training on mental reprogramming. It's the kind of stuff that is usually gated behind expensive seminars valued at $1,500 or more.
Which I love, because our mission here is to democratize that knowledge. We are getting the blueprint without the crazy price tag. And the mission for this deep dive is ambitious. We want to decode the operating system of the human mind.
We really are going to take it apart piece by piece.
We are going to look at why a staggering 95% of your life is dictated by hidden programs that you didn't even write.
And more importantly, we are going to learn how to find the glitches in that software.
Yeah.
Because most of us are running code that was installed when we were literal toddlers.
Yeah.
And then we wonder why it crashes when we try to run a complex adult life on it.
I am ready to be the guinea pig here, because I definitely have some glitches I need to patch. So let's start with the hierarchy. Who is actually driving the bus? Because as I sit here right now, I feel like I am. I chose to come to the studio today. I am choosing the words coming out of my mouth. It feels like I am totally in charge.
That is the illusion. And to be fair, it is a necessary illusion to function in the real world. But the data, and the source is very firm on this, suggests that you identify with
The voice in my head.
exactly the conscious thinker, the voice that says, I should probably eat a salad today, is only responsible for about 5% of your cognitive output.
5%. That is terrifyingly low.
It really is. That leaves 95% of your decisions, your behaviors, your emotional reactions, and your daily habits entirely to the subconscious mind.
So if we use a car analogy, which the source actually does, I am barely even touching the steering wheel.
Let's really unpack that analogy because it explains exactly why change is so hard for people. Imagine your life is a car. Your conscious mind, that 5%, is the driver. You are sitting there, you're holding the wheel, you have your GPS set to success or health or wealth.
Okay, I have the map. I am ready to drive to the destination.
Right, you have the intent. But the subconscious mind isn't just a passenger sitting in the back seat eating snacks. The subconscious mind is the car. It is the engine. It is the transmission. It is the suspension. And crucially, it is the wheel alignment.
Oh, I see where this is going. If my alignment is shot.
Exactly. If the mechanical alignment of the car, the 95%, is pulling hard to the left, I don't care how strong of a driver you are, you can white-knuckle that steering wheel to the right with all your conscious strength.
Sweating and straining.
You can force the car to go straight for a mile, but the second you get tired or distracted.
The car goes where it is mechanically programmed to go. It veers left.
And that is why willpower usually fails in the long run. Willpower is just the driver fighting the car. And eventually the driver gets exhausted.
That is that swimming upstream feeling. It's not that we are lazy, it's that we are fighting a machine that is infinitely stronger and has way more endurance than our conscious mind.
Precisely. The source describes this as our default mode. Repetitive neural pathways become the path of least resistance. We don't really choose our reactions in the heat of the moment, we just replay them.
Like road rage.
Perfect example. If someone cuts you off on the highway, do you stop, stroke your chin, and logically analyze the best emotional response?
No, I scream. My heart rate spikes immediately. It's instant.
That is the program running. You didn't choose it, it was installed, and now it just executes automatically.
This brings up something really interesting regarding affirmations, because I feel like the standard advice when you want to change your default mode is just, think positive.
Right, the toxic positivity trap.
Yeah. Stand in the mirror and say, I am a millionaire. I am skinny. I am happy. But the source implies that this can actually backfire.
It calls it the affirmation conflict. And this is such a key concept because I think everyone has tried affirmations at some point and felt incredibly silly or even fraudulent doing them.
It feels like lying. I'm standing there in my studio apartment eating ramen saying I am a wealthy tycoon. It feels completely fake.
It feels like lying because to your subconscious, it is a literal lie. Let's look at the mechanics of it. Let's say you have a deep-seated program, maybe from childhood, that says money is scarce or I am bad with numbers.
Okay, got it. That's the baseline code on the hard drive.
Now, your conscious mind stands in the mirror and says, I am a money magnet.
And the hard drive says,
access denied. It is worse than an error code. It creates massive internal conflict. The subconscious is faster and more powerful. It immediately counters with evidence. You say, I am wealthy, and the little voice in the back, the subconscious screams, no, you're not.
You have credit card debt. You overdrafted last week.
Exactly. Yells, you're broke.
So you basically end up arguing with yourself.
And who wins that argument?
The 95%.
Always. The subconscious always wins because it is automatic and it is highly emotional. So when you try to layer a positive affirmation on top of a negative belief without clearing the belief first, you just create internal tension.
You might actually feel more anxiety after doing the affirmation.
Yes, because you have just highlighted the massive gap between your current reality and your empty words.
So you cannot fix a subconscious problem with a conscious solution alone. It acts like a firewall.
Exactly. It's like trying to remove a computer virus by wiping the monitor with a microfiber cloth.
Yeah.
You are cleaning the surface, the part you can see, but you aren't touching the hard drive where the virus actually lives.
Okay, that is a perfect transition. We need to get into the hard drive. But before we talk about how to fix the code, I want to understand how it even got there, because I certainly didn't sign up for a program that says I'm bad with money or I'm unworthy of love.
Right.
When did this installation happen?
This is the origin story of your operating system. The source highlights a very specific biological window, ages 0 to 7.
The sponge phase.
It is much more than just being a sponge. It is a specific, measurable brain state. The source explains that during these early years, a child's brain is operating predominantly in theta waves.
For the non-neuroscientists listening, what does theta actually imply?
Theta is essentially a hypnotic state. It is the exact brain state you are in just before you fall asleep or just as you are waking up. It is a state of ultra-high suggestibility. A child under 7 doesn't have a fully developed prefrontal cortex yet.
They don't have the logic center online.
Right. They don't have a critical faculty. Think of that as a spam filter or a firewall. They cannot analyze incoming information for truth or falsehood.
So they can't say, oh, Dad is just stressed today because of work. What he's screaming about money isn't actually true.
Exactly. They completely lack the hardware to do that processing. They just download everything as absolute fact. If a parent says, you're so clumsy, the child doesn't think, oh, I made a small mistake dropping that cup.
The child downloads the program, identity.
Yes. And that program runs in the background for the rest of their life, unless they actively rewrite it.
The source material had some really specific examples regarding money that I found fascinating. Because these are phrases we hear all the time. They seem harmless on the surface.
The language we hear around money growing up is incredibly potent code. One of the examples that really stood out to me was the phrase, money is in the lion's mouth.
I have heard that before. It's such an intensely violent image when you really think about it.
It is intensely violent. It's an idiom used in various cultures, but the psychological impact is universal. Think about what that specific image tells a toddler. It implies that obtaining resources requires facing extreme danger.
Struggle, near-death effort.
Right. You have to literally reach into a predator's mouth. just to survive.
So if that is your baseline program running in the background, what happens when easy money comes along later in life?
Your subconscious absolutely rejects it because easy money violates the core code. If your code is money equals struggle and you get an opportunity that is easy and joyful, your system will flag it as a virus.
Wow.
You will self-sabotage to make it hard, just so it aligns with your deep belief that it must be hard.
Another script mention was, don't count your chickens before they hatch, which, sounds like prudent advice, right? Stay grounded, don't get ahead of yourself.
On the surface, sure. But the source argues that this script is actually a massive dream killer. It trains you to suppress the feeling of anticipation.
It teaches you that getting excited about a future outcome is foolish.
Or dangerous.
No.
Or that you are jinxing it.
But isn't anticipation a good thing?
Anticipation is the literal fuel for reprogramming. As we will discuss in the protocol section later, the brain needs that high emotional state of excitement to create new neural pathways.
So if you have a program that says suppress excitement,
You are cutting the fuel line to your own engine. You are shutting down the very mechanism that allows you to create a new future.
and then there are the moral scripts, the idea that rich people are greedy or people like us don't do things like that.
This creates a massive identity conflict.
Yeah.
If you are a child and your absolute core desire is to be a good person, to be loved and accepted by your parents, and your parents constantly say rich people are bad or greedy or crooks, what does your subconscious do?
It does the very simple math. Rich equals bad. I want to be good, therefore I must stay broke.
Exactly. It is a safety mechanism. Your subconscious is protecting your moral identity by actively sabotaging your financial success. It's not trying to hurt you. It is trying to keep you good based on the definition it was handed when you were 5 years old.
This leads perfectly into the concept of trauma and the body, because it's not just words floating our heads, is it? The source heavily references the idea that the body keeps the score.
This is the glue that holds the programming in place. Emotion. Information alone doesn't usually create a deep, permanent program, but information plus emotion, that is permanent ink.
Give us an example of how that works in real time.
Imagine a 5-year-old child watching their parents scream at each other over a stack of unpaid bills on the kitchen table. The child isn't just learning the intellectual concept that money is scarce. What is actually happening in their physical body?
They're terrified. Their heart is racing. Their stomach is tight.
Cortisol is spiking. They feel profoundly unsafe. That emotional signature, the fear, the insecurity, the panic gets locked right into the nervous system. And it gets permanently associated with the trigger, which is money and bills.
So fast forward 20 years, I'm an adult, I have a good job, I am physically safe in my apartment, but I sit down to pay a routine utility bill.
And suddenly, your palms are sweating, your chest gets tight. You feel a sense of dread that is completely disproportionate to the actual task of writing a $50 check for electricity.
That isn't about the math at all.
No. That is the 5-year-old's panic replaying in your adult nervous system.
And because humans are fundamentally designed to avoid pain, what do?
We avoid the trigger. You throw the bill in a drawer and you don't look at it. You procrastinate. Or, conversely, you spend the money as fast as you get it just to get rid of the underlying tension that possessing the money causes.
So you are basically regulating your nervous system by staying broke.
You are.
That is profound. It is a physical reaction to a digital problem. The program isn't just in the mind, it is baked into the body, which completely explains why you can't just think your way out of it.
Correct. You have to address the nervous system response if you want real change.
Okay, so we have this operating system. We have these viruses installed from childhood. How does this actually shape our day-to-day reality? Because the source talks at length about something called the filter.
Yes, the reticular activating system, or RAS. This is a bundle of nerves at our brainstem. Think of it as the ultimate bouncer of the brain.
Because we are bombarded with millions of bits of info every single second, right? If we noticed everything, we would literally go crazy.
Exactly. If you noticed every sound in the room, every color, every tiny sensation of your clothes resting against your skin, every movement in your peripheral vision, your brain would crash from the data load. So the RAS acts as a strict filter.
It deletes most of reality.
It deletes almost all of it and only lets in what it deems important.
And let me guess. The hidden program tells the bouncer who gets on the VIP list.
Correct. And this is where it gets a little spooky. If your program is, I am unworthy of love, or people are mean, your RAS is explicitly instructed to scan the environment for evidence that matches that exact belief.
So let's play that out. I walk into a networking party.
You walk into a party, there are 10 people smiling at you, welcoming you, and there's one person way in the back corner looking at their phone, frowning.
Okay.
If your program is set to unworthy, your RAS will literally delete the smiles. You might not even register them visually, but it will zoom in, high definition, on the frown.
It will amplify it.
It will. You will leave that party thinking, nobody liked me? Everyone was so cold.
While someone else with a confidence program walks into the exact same room.
And they effectively attend a completely different party. Their RAS highlights the smiles and filters out the frown as just irrelevant background noise. They leave thinking, what an amazing group of people. 2 people, same room, completely different realities.
The source mentions David Byrne's book, Feeling Good here, specifically referencing cognitive distortions.
Right. The brain deletes, distorts, and generalizes information to fit the pre-existing belief. We really do not see the world as it is. We see the world as we are.
This leads to the mirror principle that the source talks about, the idea that the external world is merely a reflection of the internal world.
This is a really tough pill to swallow for a lot of people. It shifts us from victim to creator, and that transition can be very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It suggests that if you keep hitting the same wall, say, you always date the exact same type of toxic person, or you always lose money right after you get a windfall. The wall isn't out there. The wall is in your mind.
The source uses a projector analogy that I found really, really helpful for visualizing this.
It's the perfect metaphor. Think of an old-school movie projector. If there is a smudge on the lens of the projector, every single movie you play will have a smudge on the screen.
And what do we usually do? We run up to the screen and try to scrub it off.
Exactly. That is us trying to change our partners or change our jobs or constantly complain about the economy. But the smudge isn't on the screen. It is in the lens.
The mirror principle says stop scrubbing the screen, clean the lens.
Yes, if you change the film reel inside, the picture on the screen physically must change. It is essentially physics.
Okay, I am a sold, I have a smudge, I have a glitch. But the tricky thing about the subconscious is that it is, well, subconscious. It is entirely below the surface. How do we do the detective work to actually find these hidden beliefs?
The source gives us 3 main ways to audit the system. The first one is the most brutal, but honestly the most effective. Look at your results.
Just look at the scoreboard.
Your life, right now, is a direct, unfiltered printout of your subconscious programming. The results simply do not lie. Look at your bank account. Look at your relationships. Look at your health. Where are you stuck? Where is the recurring pattern?
That is where the belief is hiding.
That is exactly where it is.
So if I say I want to be rich, but my bank account has been hovering at 0 for 10 years,
then your subconscious program is set to 0. It acts like a thermostat. If you are internally set to 70 degrees and you earn some extra money raising the heat to 90, your AC will automatically kick on.
meaning you'll have an unexpected car repair or you'll lose your wallet.
Right. Something will happen to bring you right back down to 70.
The second way to audit is analyzing internal dialogue, catching those automatic thoughts.
This requires a lot of mindfulness. You have to turn up the volume on the voice in your head. You have to catch yourself in the act. What are the specific keywords you use every day? I can't. It's impossible. I'll try.
The source had a really interesting point about phrases expressing faith, like saying God willing, or if the universe wants it. Now, the psychology here applies to anyone, regardless of belief system.
It is a fascinating observation. The phrase itself is meant to be a beautiful expression of deep faith, relying on a higher power. But the source points out that many people use it with a distinct tone of hopelessness.
They say God willing as a way of secretly saying, it probably won't happen, so it's completely out of my hands.
It becomes a convenient excuse for passivity. It masks the hidden belief that I don't actually have the power to change this. So you have to listen not just to the words coming out of your mouth, but the feeling behind the words. Is it true faith? Or is it resignation?
And then there's the third method, the blind spots, asking for feedback.
This takes serious courage. Other people can see your programming much better than you can, because they aren't looking through your distorted lens, they're looking directly at you.
The source suggests that if 3 different people tell you the exact same thing, you really need to listen.
It's the rule of 3. If one person calls you a horse, they're crazy. If 2 people call you a horse, check the mirror. If 3 people call you a horse, buy a saddle.
I love that.
It's true. If friends keep telling you, why do you always undervalue yourself? Or You always play it so small. That is hard data. That is a glitch they are pointing out to you.
There was a great personal story in the source about this. The speaker was told by her mother that she didn't save money.
Yes, and look at her immediate reaction. She denied it. She got super defensive. What do you mean? I do save. That defense mechanism is usually a blaring siren that you have hit a nerve.
But she dug into it.
She did. She eventually realized she was subconsciously getting rid of money to feel safe. Perhaps because of that childhood programming we talked about earlier.
Money equals danger, so get rid of it.
Exactly. Once she accepted the feedback, she changed the behavior entirely. She bought a car. She broke the loop. But she absolutely had to accept the feedback first.
It's like when people constantly tell you, you're too much or you're too ambitious.
That is a very common one. If you hear that enough, you might install a program that says, I must be small to be loved. And then later you wonder why you never get promoted or why you always shrink in social situations.
So we've identified the glitches, we see the patterns. Now we get to the really good stuff, the protocol. How do we actually overwrite the code? The source breaks this down into a very specific step-by-step process.
Step 1 is clarity. And the metaphor used here is the GPS.
I use GPS every day. If I just type in, take me somewhere nice, the app doesn't work.
Exactly. The fad light doesn't know what to do with vague instructions. The subconscious works the exact same way. Most people walking around sending signals like, I want to be rich or I want to be happy.
That is way too vague for the operating system. It's just noise.
It's pure noise.
So what does it actually need?
Coordinates, exact numbers, specific dates, sensory details. Instead of rich, it needs to be $50,000 a month in passive income. Instead of a big house, it's a 20-bedroom estate.
Whoa, 20 bedrooms. That
Yeah.
is extremely specific.
That was the actual example in the source. But the point is the precision. You need to give your RAS a highly specific target to hunt for in the environment.
If you tell the RAS red convertible, you start seeing red convertibles everywhere.
Right. But if you tell it opportunity, it sees nothing.
Yeah.
Because what does opportunity look like? You have to define it for the machine.
Okay, step 2, identity shifting. This felt like a really key distinction. Moving from I want to I am.
This is critical to the whole process. I want implies lack. If you say, I want to be wealthy, you are implicitly affirming that you are currently not wealthy.
You are reinforcing the distance between you and the goal.
The subconscious hears wanting and just gives you more wanting.
So how do we shift that?
You adopt the identity of the person who already has the goal. You don't manifest what you want, you manifest who you are. So instead of saying, I want to lose weight, the shift is, I am an athlete. I am the kind of person who eats well and moves daily.
It changes the entire decision-making process. If I truly believe I am an athlete, then when I see a donut versus an apple, I don't even have to use willpower. I just ask, what would an athlete eat?
Exactly. It becomes an identity-based decision, not a willpower-based decision. You were just acting in alignment with who you already are.
Step 3 is visualization, but the source emphasizes the senses heavily. It's not just playing a movie in your head.
No, it has to be holographic.
Yeah.
The brain cannot physically distinguish between a vivid, high-definition imagination and actual reality. But it has to be incredibly vivid.
So we are talking smell, touch, sound.
Yes. Don't just see the new car. Smell the fresh leather. Feel the hard texture of the steering wheel in your hands. Hear the engine purr when you start it.
There was a great tip about auditory visualization, hearing the specific notification sound of a bank deposit.
That is such a powerful trigger. We are all essentially Pavlovian dogs with our phones now. If you can close your eyes and vividly hear that ding and feel the rush of excitement that comes with it, your body actually releases dopamine.
Your nervous system begins to accept the event as real.
Right. And that leads to the famous phrase, feeling is the secret. You absolutely have to generate the emotion before the event happens in reality.
That is the quantum leap right there. Most people wait for the event to feel the joy. I'll be happy when I finally get the promotion.
The protocol says, feel the joy of the promotion right now. That signals to the subconscious that it's already happened, which collapses the timeline. It completely stops the internal resistance.
Step 4 involves some very specific hacks or techniques. I really loved the mirror phone call.
This is a fun one. You stand in front of a mirror, holding your phone to your ear, and you have a completely fake conversation with a friend.
Oh my God, you won't believe what just happened.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You describe your success entirely in the past tense. I can't believe I just got that promotion. They offered me the corner office. You act it out fully. You let yourself laugh, maybe even cry tears of joy.
It sounds a little crazy if your roommate accidentally walks in.
It does. But it breaks the old pattern. It forces your brain to physically rehearse the victory. It is role-playing your future self. It feels silly because it is unfamiliar, but you have to push through the silliness.
Another technique mentioned was scripting.
Writing down your desired reality in the present tense. I am so happy and grateful now that I am earning X amount.
It's a way to physically encode the new program through the hand-brain connection, right?
There's something almost magical about putting physical pen to paper. It locks it in.
Okay, so we are visualizing, we are scripting, we are talking to ourselves in the mirror like crazy people, but we can't just sit in a dark room and dream, right? We
Wait.
have to move. This brings us to part 6, action and embodiment.
Right. The subconscious trusts actions way more than words. You can stand in the mirror and say, I am confident 1,000 times. But if you then cancel on a social gathering because you are nervous, the subconscious goes, aha.
I knew it. You're a liar. We are actually terrified.
The action exposes the true belief.
So you need proof actions. The source calls this the small steps rule.
And this was surprising. The connection between taking out the trash and becoming a millionaire.
It sounds like a massive stretch, but it's really about integrity.
If you procrastinate on the small things, taking out the trash, cutting your nails, making the bed, you are training your brain to accept procrastination as a core part of your identity. You are constantly signaling, I am a person who delays.
And that signal inevitably bleeds into the big stuff.
Exactly. But if you take out the trash immediately, if you do the small mundane tasks right away, you send a powerful signal. I'm a person who does what they say. That builds deep self-trust.
And self-trust is the absolute foundation of confidence.
It is.
So cleaning my room is actually subconscious reprogramming.
It is environment design. Your physical space constantly reinforces your identity. A messy house equals a messy mind. The source calls it the cleanse. When you clean your home, organize your workspace, throw out the old junk, you are telling your subconscious, I have changed. I am making physical space for the new.
And then there's embodiment. The old fake it till you make it idea, but the source reframes it as rehearse it until you become it.
Think of it exactly like an actor preparing for a major role. If you want to be a CEO, you don't wait until you get the job to walk like a CEO. You start walking, talking, and dressing like that version of you today.
There was a really cool personal anecdote about a honeymoon in the Caribbean.
Yes, the speaker desperately wanted a honeymoon in the Caribbean. At the time, it seemed completely impossible financially. Her mother even laughed at her, which, by the way, is that external feedback trying to enforce the old limit.
But she held the vision.
She held the vision tight. She embodied the feeling of being there. She probably looked at photos daily, imagined the hot sun on her skin, and eventually, she lived it. The external reality caught up to the internal rehearsal.
One thing the source warned heavily about was the social environment. You become the average of the people you surround yourself with.
If you were trying to upgrade your mental software, but you were hanging out with people running the old buggy version,
They act like Wi-Fi interference.
they do. They reinforce your old self. If your friends constantly complain about being broke and you are actively trying to build a wealth mindset, you are going to experience massive friction.
You are trying to speak a brand new language, and they are only speaking the old one.
You might need to set firm boundaries or, honestly, find a new network to plug into.
Okay, let's talk about maintenance, because I feel like I could do all of this for a week, get super hyped, and then 2 weeks later, I am right back on the couch eating chips. How do we make it stick long term?
Repetition.
Yeah.
The source is very, very clear. A single visualization is not enough. It requires relentless consistency to override decades of old programming. You didn't learn the old program in a day. You won't unlearn it in a day. It takes real grit.
Timing seems to be crucial here, too. The golden hours.
Morning and night. Specifically, the minutes right after you wake up and right before you fall asleep.
Why those specific times?
Because your brain waves are slowing down naturally. You're passing back through those theta and alpha states we talked about at the beginning. The rigid barrier between the conscious and subconscious mind is at its thinnest.
It's like the back door to the server room is just left wide open.
Straight in. Which is exactly why the source gives a severe warning about doom scrolling.
Oh, guilty as charged. Checking the news or social media right before my eyes close.
If you watch negative news, violence, or anxiety-inducing content right before sleep, you are literally programming nightmares and baseline anxiety into your operating system for the next 8 hours.
You are just marinating your brain in stress while you sleep.
That is exactly what you are doing. It creates a baseline of anxiety for the entire next day. Instead, use that specific window to visualize your success. Use that time to review your I am statements. Let the very last thing on your mind be the wish fulfilled.
Now, one last question before we get to the challenge. What happens when we start doing this and suddenly everything feels wrong? Like we feel massive resistance, we feel scared. Does that mean we are doing it wrong?
No, it means you are doing it exactly right. This is a crucial reframe. When you change, the old game shoe, you will absolutely fight back. The subconscious loves homeostasis. It loves the familiar above all else.
Even if the familiar is incredibly toxic.
Exactly. To the primitive brain, familiar equals safe. Unfamiliar equals danger. So when you finally step out of your comfort zone, your brain pulls the fire alarm. You feel fear, doubt, massive resistance.
So feeling uncomfortable isn't a stop sign.
It is a growing pain. It is a signpost that says you are leaving the known territory. The source says we urgently need to reframe discomfort. Growth requires sitting with the discomfort of the new until it finally becomes the new normal.
If you run back to the safety of the old behavior every single time you feel weird, you never upgrade.
You have to be willing to be the awkward beginner. You have to be willing to feel like a total imposter for a minute until the new identity actually takes hold.
That is the real work.
It is.
This has been incredible. I feel like I finally have a user manual for my own head now. But we don't want this to just be shelf help, knowledge that just sits on the shelf gathering dust. We want action. Let's recap the source's final challenge for the listener.
The challenge is simple, but incredibly potent. Dedicate 15 minutes a day. Just 15 minutes.
Step 1, identify one limiting belief. Just start with one. I can't save money, or I'm not creative.
Step 2, write the counterbelief. I am a money magnet, or creativity flows effortlessly through me.
Step 3, visualize it with high emotion. Use all the senses. Really feel it in your body.
And step 4, take one small proof action immediately. Do something, anything, that physically proves the new belief is true. Put $5 in a savings account, buy a cheap sketchbook, send that scary email.
Prove it to yourself.
Prove it to the machine.
I love that. We started this whole deep dive by asking who is really driving the bus, and I think the scary reality is that for most of us, a terrified 7-year-old version of ourselves is driving the bus.
That is exactly it.
And this deep dive is about gently but firmly taking the wheel back. It's about looking at that kid and saying, thank you for getting us this far, but I will take it from here.
If you don't run your own mind, your past is running it for you. That is the provocative thought to leave you with today. Are you living your adult life, or are you just replaying a script written by a toddler?
Oof, that hits hard. Listeners, treat your mind like the incredibly valuable real estate it actually is. Don't let just anyone or anything from the past build a house there. Clear the lot, draw up some new blueprints, and start building the life you actually want. Thanks for diving in with us.
See you next time.